Random House Audio presents 11 Pipers Piping, A Father Christmas Mystery by C.C. Benison, read for you by Steve West with Jean Gilpin.
The Vicarage, Thornford Regis, TC 96QX, 10 January. Dear Mum, I hope you're prepared for snow. I switched on the radio once the teasmaid had done its job this morning, and the Met was issuing a severe weather warning for the entire country. We are to be inundated, and we will be by the time this letter reaches you. So I hope you and Aunt Gwen are all right in Cornwall. You must have Aunt Gwen phone me if you think there's anything I can do at this end. Though last time we had an enormous dump of snow in the West Country, the phones went down. And the electricity went off too. It was quite a to-do, wasn't it? I know lots of folk have no weather memories. Can't remember what year had what conditions. In fact, old Bob asked me, while I was getting a loaf at Pattimore's the other day, when was the great storm of '93? It was in 1993, Bob, I said, not batting an eye. I do think he's not very well. But that was a great windstorm. Both you and I remember the last great snowstorm, don't we? Maureen did pick her moments. No one could drive out of the village. No ambulance could get in. Dr. Philpott had got himself stuck in Torquay. And it was Christmas Eve day. I can still see the spot on Mr. James Douglas's dining room rug where Maureen's water broke. Well, not see it as such. Of course it cleaned up easily. Poor Mr. J.D. I think at first he was more worried about the state of his Tabriz rug than the state of Maureen. And he did go out and shop for that enormous canopy bed soon after Maureen gave birth to Tamara on his old one. What a trial it was getting that bed into the vicarage. Anyway, you and I did splendid work as midwives, didn't we? Even Dr. Philpott, couldn't find a reason to caution us later. And now your granddaughter is at university at Exeter. Time has flown, hasn't it? It was so lovely seeing her at Christmas, with all of us in Cornwall. She's coming down to perform in Totnes with her old group Shank's Pony tonight. But he can't go, as Mr. Christmas has the Burns supper at the hotel. And Miranda is having her first sleepover in the vicarage with some of her friends. I'm not sure Mr. C is looking forward to the haggis. I once fed him my very good braised lamb's kidneys with onions. He ate most of it, but I could sense organ meats weren't his cup of tea. I think Miranda fed most of hers to Bumble. I was not pleased. Anyway, I think Mr. C will be surprised at the bee supper, but I shan't tell him what the surprise is and spoil it. Molly Calf is cooking the supper, by the way. I don't think she's the best caterer hereabouts, but it's good that she's coming out of her shell, poor woman. Though it's a bit odd she's chosen to do so at the Moyers. Well, Mum, I must get on with the day. I'm doing a special meal for the girls this evening, and I've been asked to contribute something to the bee supper. So there's that to cook too. And Mr. C has a wedding in Pennycross this afternoon, which will keep him busy. Mum, I just glanced at the window, and even though it's so dark this early in the morning, I could see a snowflake fall on the glass. I expect it's starting. Oh dear, I wonder what the next days will bring. Last time, with all the snow, it felt like the whole village was marooned. We coped wonderfully, though, didn't we? Still, I wouldn't wish for the sort of drama we had last time. A cosy fire and the Sudoku machine Mr. C bought me for Christmas will suit me until it all blows over. Cats are well and still sulking over the dog, though Bumble does try to make friends. Love to Aunt Gwen. Glorious day, we hope. Much love, Madron. P.S. I'm still investigating the Yorkshire problem. I'll let you know when it's solved.
Chapter 1. Did they not feed you after the wedding, Mr. Christmas? I dropped into the reception for only a minute, Tom replied, conscious of the passing figure of his housekeeper as he continued his contemplation of the bounty in the vicarage refrigerator. I didn't have a chance for a bite. He barely knew the young couple he had married that afternoon, Todd and Gemma, other than to have a brief preparatory discussion with them the month before. He had never seen them in church, nor had he seen their families or friends, and didn't expect to see them again, unless the couple wished their baby baptized, which mightn't be far off, given that the bride, wearing a meringue with a train half a mile long, had fairly waddled up the aisle at St. Paul's, the second of the two churches in his charge. Her plump face, when she'd pushed back her embroidered veil, had looked much like a blazing beetroot, he recalled, staring at a jar of the pickled variety inside the door of the fridge. Sweat had sparkled in tiny beads along her exposed hairline, this despite the glacial damp of the nave in January, which some might have construed as the effect of energy expended getting up the aisle, but which Tom interpreted as a dew born of anticipation and triumph. The groom, however, had been a figure of bemusement, his face a kind of Belisha beacon, one moment as blanched as that leftover rice pudding in its puddle of cream on the second shelf, the next as pink as the Virginia ham one shelf below. Tom shouldn't have fancied their chances at marital success. They were much too young. He was a farm labourer, and she was a healthcare aide of some sort, and they were living with his parents. But for some reason he did, and could only chalk it up to a decade's experience splicing couples of varied sorts. He imagined them receiving their 60th anniversary card from the Queen, or the King, as would most probably be then, where other couples, more advantaged, would fall by the wayside. When betrothal is brief, the marriage lasts long, he recalled his father-in-law saying, quoting some bit of Jewish wisdom when he was trying to reconcile himself to his daughter's elopement. How wrong he had been, at least in Tom and Lisbeth's case. The reception was at the Pig's Barrel, Tom told his housekeeper. A January wedding and a pub reception? Sounds a hurried affair. A little, perhaps, Tom responded non-committally. He rarely went to wedding receptions anyway, unless he knew the family well. Receptions could murder the best part of a Saturday afternoon, and it wasn't as though he didn't have anything else to do, polish his sermon, for instance. He'd dropped in at Todd and Gemma's only because he'd seen the very attractive village bobby, Mari White, pass through the Barrel's doors when he went for his car after the ceremony and couldn't resist the allure of a chance encounter. But, alas, when he arrived, Mari was ensconced, back to him, at a table full of, men. Anyway, snow, ominously forecast to bung up northwestern Europe for the weekend and more, was beginning to fall in earnest, and so getting home to Thornford seemed more imperative than being stood like a lemon at the Pig's Barrel. He looked past the edge of the refrigerator door, wondering if Madron was about to launch into a mini-inquisition over the newlyweds. Customarily, she would have ushered them into the vicarage study when they came for their marriage interview, but the wedding had come together all in a rush during busy Christmas week, which Madron had spent with her aging mother in Cornwall, thus depriving her of an opportunity to inspect and pass verdict on events at home. But Madron's back was to him. He could see one hand resting against one cheek as she contemplated the array of cookery books marshalled behind the glass of a ceiling-high barrister's bookcase. He guessed her preoccupation lay not with the hapless couple. The Sunday before, after her return from Cornwall to Thornford Regis early in the new year, She had cooked a...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?